Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Hello, hello. This is Brackley in Las Vegas on a beautiful Saturday, ready to discuss lighting.
And this is Ellen on the tropical island of magical St. Bart.
Hey, and this is Stan in North Florida, Gainesville, and today we're going to discuss fog, 36 versus 50 degree. Follow me, give my regards to Broadway, and How to Be Famous, all on Light Talk.
And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers.
And sister.
That's right, Ellen. Welcome, everyone, to episode 373. And today you have the big group, the family's here. We're just missing Zach.
Right. Where's Zach?
He's been a bad boy. He's in the corner. He's in
with his
timeout.
children.
Oh, okay.
He's in timeout.
What's happening, he's working for Disney now. He's working for the mouse. And I think he's just looking at his new iPad that he just bought with the M4 processor.
Mouse.
So he's very happy.
House in the house.
The house of the mouse.
House of Mouse, Mouse in the House.
Anyway.
Sounds like a Dr. Seuss book.
Mouse in the house.
Does anyone have any news today? Okay, let's move on to our first question.
No news.
I could probably think of something.
Well,
I could make something up.
It's not quite 6 months to Christmas, which means it's not quite 6 months to LDI.
Oh, my God.
Poor Ellen saying, is it that close? that was the sound of a woman who is shocked.
Right.
Who's realizing
6 months.
better get to work.
Yipes.
We have to have F1 beforehand.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of exciting stuff up our sleeves at LDI this year. And just to give you a little hint, we used to have about 51 courses in our LD Institute, which is all the pre-show training. And right now we're hovering at about 71 for this year. So,
Oh,
Wow,
congratulations.
That's great. Yes.
yeah, a lot of new stuff coming down the pike.
Wonderful. That's really great news, Ellen.
Yeah.
Including the portfolio review.
Well, yes, but that's not an institute. That's a free event, but absolutely it will happen.
Yeah, it's like Light Talk at LDI. That's a free
Right.
event too. So
Exactly.
Well, Light Talk and the portfolio review are both institutions, though.
Absolutely.
that's right. We are institutionalized. We should be institutionalized.
I want to know, do the Lumen Brothers and sister, do we all get those little motorized carts to drive around in?
Pretty soon we're going to
one.
need it.
Us old people.
You too can rent one from FedEx.
Oh, okay.
Do we have to deliver packages if we have one of those?
I just hope the American Express Lounge is open again this year. I like that.
Okay. Well, I do have some news.
Go ahead.
Believe it or not, Light Talk with the Lumen Brothers and Sisters, we are approaching 500,000 downloads.
Wow.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Is that of the same person or they're different?
three of them are from the Faroe Islands. But
Yeah, that one guy in the Faroe Islands, that's all he
yeah,
does.
that's true. So anyway, let's get to our questions because we have a lot to talk about today. And Brackley, I believe you have the first question.
Okay. So Sarah from Vermont writes, I want to use haze in a production, and I can't seem to get an even distribution in the theater we are in. Any advice would be helpful.
Don't use haze.
Don't use haze, but if you want to see the beams of light, it's kind of important.
Welcome to the club, Sarah. None of us can get an even distribution. It's a crapshoot every night.
Depending on the theater, for us, it's depending on the theater, depending on the ventilation system. We have times where the ventilation system during text is one thing, and then when performance, they crank it up and all the haze goes away. So I remember back in the day, though, the DF50s, those oil-based machines really pumped out some really good haze that seemed to have better distribution, but we can't use those anymore.
Yeah, because it ruins your lungs, that stuff.
Not details.
It's also slippery. Did you ever see ballerinas just come out
Oh.
onto a stage covered with fog and slip? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops.
Not anymore. We have the water-based
Well, I
healthy
have
one.
a thought.
Yeah.
We like the MDG hazers because they have a little fan that breaks it up when it comes out of the machine. It's very, very small particulate. And one theater here in Florida that I know of, maybe because Florida is sort of like a crazy state without any laws, or it's kind of lawless Florida. I know one place where they actually pump the haze into the the HVAC system, the air distribution system, and that's pretty well distributed. But I don't think that's really kosher most places.
Actually, I did that in one of the productions I did in Georgia. They pumped it right through the HVAC system, and it was perfect.
How did it work?
Perfect. It was perfect.
Because it's designed to do that. The HVACs
and it didn't set off any alarms, which is great too.
I guess if we were designing a really fancy theater and that was an important thing, you could design a secondary system, have like an MEP person design it just for the haze distribution.
Yeah.
That would be one way to get there. What's her name? Sarah? You could just design your own little pipe system, get some flexible duct work, and get some engineer who knows how to do the parts, knows how to do the distribution, and that would be a way to get it.
No.
Or go to LDI. LDI, there was plenty of haze at LDI last
Right.
But that's the giant
Why wouldn't that work?
Distribution was not a problem.
Why wouldn't that work? They can distribute heat and cold evenly, so just a secondary system that you could build your own little thing.
I'll tell you why. Have you ever seen the movie Waiting for Guffman?
Yeah,
They talk about Steve knows what I'm going to say. They talk about a very powerful effect when Corky St. Clair, to get the smell of something burning down in that, because there was some scene where something like a building burnt down, where he would like light a fire and put it in the air conditioning system, then to get the ashes to come through the air conditioning system, and ended up burning the entire theater down. So, no, you don't want to do anything like
That got to do with haze distribution.
There's a fine line between stupid and genius.
That's the second one. That's a different movie, but also from the same brilliant creators. Okay, first of all, I would find it very difficult to be able to go into an existing theater, which sounds like this is coming from someone who's working in an existing theater, not designing their own theater, and saying, hey, can I screw around with your air conditioning system? I don't think I would allow that to happen.
No, you shouldn't do that. I'm not saying that.
That's not answering her question. She wants to know how to get even distribution in a theater, probably an older theater with a crappy AC system. You never know, but there is no way. I've done it. I've tried it everywhere, all over the world. And the only way it would ever work is you get multiple machines put in different parts of the stage. So, and you
lots of fans.
And lots of fans. You study and you study the system, and you keep the system on constantly. The air conditioning system never stops. Those fans have to be moving all the time. And I know I did a show once, a big show at the Lyric Opera Chicago, where we had to have haze, and we basically spent a week moving 6 MDG hazers all around the stage. Some, had 2 in the fly tower. We had 2 on stage right, 3 upstage, all over the place, until we got an even amount. And then on opening night, when we had like a couple of thousand people in the audience, the curtain went up, and the heat of those people pulled all that haze out of the stage into the audience. And there was no haze on the stage, and it was on the audience. It can't be done.
I've seen that happen too. The first four rows are engulfed.
And another thing about haze is that even if you get a little bit of smoke on stage, anywhere on stage, that curtain comes up, someone 300 feet away in the audience is start to coughing and sneezing, and that sets off a chain reaction. It's not worth it because, and also let's talk about haze for a second, because the way light works is that when you see beams of light, guess where the brightest part of that, or the most intense beam is? It's up, because that's where the light is stronger. So that pulls the eye up to where the source of the light is. Haze, I used to love it all the time, and then finally with all the directors I've worked with, it's like, no, we're not using it, because it's just going to be distracting.
Right, but in rock and roll, they really do.
Well, rock and roll's different. Rock and roll's different. It's all about what's happening in the air. In theater, we want to hear a story, and the actors are telling the story. And we want to be looking
But sometimes the designer wants like an entire carpet of low rolling fog on the stage.
Fog's different.
Yeah, fog's different than haze.
That just rolls into the orchestra pit and engulfs the orchestra in fog.
Right. and kills the musicians.
It kills the musicians.
They start coughing in the pit.
I once did a show where we had this ballet section. I forgot the show, but it was a ballet section, and they would all the dancers would fall asleep. We had all this fog, and one dancer fell right in front of the hose outlet, and she was breathing all this CO2 fog, and she passed out. I mean, it's dangerous. That's if you're sucking it into your lungs directly. Anyway, I'd say don't do it.
Right. Well, in Vermont, you probably don't have to worry about the air conditioning as much about the heating, but
Right.
Yeah. It's a whole other thing.
Sally from Omaha has asked us, what are the advantages of using a performer tracking system like Follow Me? And are there others in the same category I should consider? So have any of you used anything like that, the automated tracking systems like Follow Me?
I have. We used the RoboSpot from Roadie, and we found it to be quite good, actually. The only downsides were the fixture that we used at the time was way too powerful for the size of our space. So we couldn't get it dim enough, believe it or not. It was really designed for an arena. But now you can choose different fixtures. And the only negative that the operators reported was if a performer made a sudden, let's say a unpredictable movement very quickly, and you stuck with them, you couldn't sort of stop it. Like when you're running a follow spot manually, you can use your arms as a brake. So you could move it quickly and slow it down, and it sort of would keep going a little bit. It didn't stop
there's a little bit of a latency in it.
Right, a little bit of latency on a very sudden move. But if the choreography is pretty much what it's been, and the performers are aware that you're following them with a unit like that, it worked pretty well. I haven't used Follow Me, which is a less expensive, and then we also went down to PRG, and we really looked very closely at purchasing ground control, and that was really very effective stuff too. So I think we've specified them for some high schools but we ended up pulling them out because the cost for a high school is too high. But we do have them going into a small roadhouse. In fact, in a situation where you don't have a booth, or putting a booth becomes a problem, or your follow spot's going to be outside with fan noise, they become useful in that. We think of it in terms of not just the operation for the show, but in terms of where the follow spots go in the environment. So I think as the cost comes down, which I hope it will over time, they'll become more ubiquitous.
I think the follow spot is different from the ground control because it's ecumenical. It's agnostic. It can be used with any fixture. I think the ground control can only be used with PRG fixtures.
And the RoboSpot can only be used with Roby fixtures.
Yeah, using unique protocols. But I think that will probably break down over time as well.
And apparently with Follow Spot, you can merge the lighting and the audio and the video, and it can all, there's some sort of a screen where you get to watch what's going on, and you can track everything together.
Well, that's sort of Black Tracks.
That's what I wanted to talk about, because I think there's that line that you're crossing into a much more accurate and expensive system, and that is Black Tracks. And that works really well. Really well.
We've used it.
Yeah. They used it on American Utopia. Everyone had the sensors on them, and they had, I don't know if they used Vipers or whatever, but each light would follow that one specific performer. So that works really, really well.
Yeah, we're a fan of Black Tracks. Black Tracks sits on top of WYSIWYG. It's the same. It's basically an addition to where we used it on a musical during COVID. And we have a Black Track server sitting at UF. Well, I don't anymore because I'm not at UF anymore. But they do, and it's really cool stuff, David. That Black Track stuff
love
is. Yeah.
Good. So that's for Sally. She should consider Black Tracks as well as Follow Me.
Yep.
And the advantages are that you have automation control of what you're doing, right?
A big advantage is safety.
Yes, safety.
You don't have to put someone up on a truss, and also that person on the truss is not distracting to what's going on below it. I've never used it, and I don't know what it is. I just did a quick search here. Clay Packy has a system called Buddy Light, and I don't know what it is. It looks like it's proprietary. That it goes. I don't think it works with other fixtures other than Clay Packy, so it's like the ground control system. But I haven't read enough about it, nor have I seen it.
On Steve's point about safety, let me point something out about Black Tracks, which is kind of great. They call things, anything that has the sensors on them is called the trackable. But what's really cool is when you have your entire environment in the system, and let's say you have moving scenery or moving platforms that are dangerous, you can basically put like a zone around the element, right? Like let's say it's a big, heavy piece of flying scenery that's coming in. And anybody or any trackable person or whatever that gets close to that thing within a safety margin, it'll just say stop. In other words, so you actually create a safer environment. It's sort of like FSD, David.
Yeah, right. That's a Tesla joke, by the way, FSD.
Whatever happened to those other performer tracking type systems where they wanted the actor to wear something?
Well, that's what
Blacktracks
That's what
does.
this is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Blacktracks does. But it could be an actor, it could be a piece of scenery, it can be, a costume. It could be anything you want. You put this device on it and it becomes a trackable. And it's basically, Blacktracks uses GPS, or basically what they do is they put infrared cameras in your space and it maps the whole space. And then anything that's got it's a transponding situation David and I talk about.
Ground control is different. That's still an operator running a follow
that's still
spot.
an operator. That's a different thing.
And
that's a different
it's interesting.
thing.
Blacktracks is, I would assume, it's a lot more expensive than ground control, but you don't need so many. You don't need follow spot operators with Blacktracks.
No.
You're not hiring six
but
follow spot
you do need a
operators.
technix there to keep it.
But
it's like the old Verilight world.
It's a lot cheaper.
You got to have a Blacktracks doctor in house.
Right. Right. Like Verilight used to do.
Right. Okay. Like the old days.
Okay. Well, Diane from Santa Fe asks, how do I become a famous Broadway lighting designer? Now,
practice, right?
practice. Now, the reason why, it's interesting because
you pay for it.
Okay, first of all, as my brothers and sister know, I read a lot of books. And I'm this summer reading time, and I'm just excited about this new book that just came out called...
Didn't I ask that question a couple of weeks ago?
What, about reading books?
How to become a famous Broadway lighting designer and 10 easy lessons?
This book is called, believe it or not, How to Be Famous. And it's written by Cass Sunstein. And he was on Morning Joe this morning. And it was really interesting that we got this email exactly when I was watching it. It was unbelievable. So the bottom line is he breaks down. He actually studied, believe it or not, how the Beatles became famous. Because if they didn't find George Martin, they would have just fallen apart. And at first, George Martin wasn't that interested in them because he was a comedy producer for comedy records. He did the Goonies and stuff like that. And he heard a few of their songs and he said, okay, well, maybe one or two of these, three maybe, or it could be hits, but let's go ahead and record them. And then all of a sudden, okay, it happened. So he breaks it down to these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things you need to do to become famous, okay? First of all, you need to be really good. That's not competent.
Now,
That's
wait a
really
minute.
good. No, wait. Let's finish this. Just write down what you want to talk about. You need to be really good. You need breaks. Okay. You need serendipity. Now, some people may say, well, isn't that the same thing? No, not necessarily. Serendipity is a little different because it's by chance. Serendipity is chance. You need to have champions. You need a network of people. And finally, you need passion and drive. Now, I added that one. He did not say that one, but I believe that you do need passion. Okay, but he said, matter of fact, he addresses that, but he's saying drive is, you don't need a lot of it because if all these other things happen, you're going to be placed in that situation. But for most people, you need to have that love for it.
I think you become a famous Broadway lighting designer by going to New York, calling up Ken Billington, asking if you can assist him on any show whatsoever, and take it from there.
I would say Diane has an ace in the hole. And I think if you want to become a famous Broadway lighting designer, I think you spend or have spent a lot of time at Santa Fe Opera. When you think about the amount of talent that comes through that opera company, and you're right there in Santa Fe, boy, the contacts that you could possibly make there, that could help you get your foot in the door, as Ellen says, to a major studio to work with someone.
Right.
Right.
And then it's how bad do you want it?
Right.
How much are you willing to work?
Right.
How much are you willing to give up to get to where you want to be? And that's not always a good thing. Maybe all of a sudden you realize you never had a life.
Right. Agreed. Robert in Lincoln, Nebraska asks, if you could choose to light any building or piece of architecture in the United States, or even the world for that matter, what would it be and why?
Well, Stan,
Well, Stan, since you answered,
What's your answer?
I'm asking you.
No, Robert's asking you.
Oh, he's asking
Robert's
me.
you.
That's not how this works. We've only been doing the show for 8 years.
Well, so it's funny. It's funny that Robert's from Nebraska because actually, I was once upon a time going to light the Nebraska State Capitol, which is a remarkable building. It's the first non-masonry tower built in the United States, and it was built with a mural artist, a sculptor, Daniel Chester French, the guy who did the Lincoln Memorial, and a bunch of really interesting people. And I was supposed to do that. We did some field testing on it, and it never got done. So that was sort of on my list. But if I had to pick today in the United States,
Or in the world, it said.
yeah, I got to think about it for a minute. While I'm thinking, let's see what you guys come up with.
I would go for the Parthenon. It's right up there on top of a mountain. Everyone sees it. It's such a stunning, striking bit of architecture. I would love a bite at that apple to relight it.
I'd like to light a bridge,
Yeah.
Ooh.
like the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
The Brooklyn. Ooh,
Yeah, that would be nice.
that would be cool.
I have a friend who lights bridges, so that would be fun.
What about you, David?
Not a building, but a natural monument. And I think arches in Utah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Nice.
Nature lights that very well during the afternoon hours.
But at night it could be fun.
At night, it would be awesome to
Yeah,
get some
it would
shadow
be.
work on there. Not projections, but shadow work.
I think they made me think. You inspired me, David. I think I would like to light an ice shelf.
Yeah, like a glacier, maybe?
Yeah, from barges.
Yeah, that don't run into bridges.
Let's hope not.
You are listening intently to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers and Sister, and Light Talk is sponsored by.
From across the mighty Pacific, it's Pet Sweat of Japan, the go-to source for the hungry stagehand. Summer is upon us, and that means one thing: summer music festivals, and that means packing a picnic lunch. Most will choose the traditional hanami box, roughly translated as picnic under the cherry blossoms. What an image. How relaxing, how romantic. But that's not for you, my friend. You are working a summer festival. You are surrounded by porta potties, overflowing trash cans, and broken lawn chairs. You get the Pet Sweat of Japan Roadie Yum Yum box. Let's peek inside your basket. A big challenge is cooking or heating up your picnic treats on site. Fire is difficult to manage and can be dangerous. Not a problem for the Pet Sweat Roadie Yum Yum box. That's why the main course is basashi. That's right, thinly sliced raw horse meat, best served chilled from your cooler. Pass me the wasabi, Trigger. I know what you're thinking. What goes best with raw horse? As a side dish, try natto, the stinky, slimy, fermented soybean. Serve it on a bed of cold rice and call me Shogun. Finally, wash it all down with a bottle of warm Calpis, said to be the most popular water-based powdered milk and lactic acid drink in the world. So delicious, it is said to be the official drink of the Hells Angels Tokyo. Sounds good to me, Tiger. But wait, no summer picnic is complete without a bowl of shirashu ice cream, made with green tea, a kiss of natural sweetener, also known as white bait fish. About the size of a tadpole, the shirashu has one purpose in life: to be eaten by a bigger fish. After boiling the little guy and crushing it, it is then mixed with the other ingredients and frozen. But how to describe the taste? Lightly salted like the ocean. A fluffy, slippery texture, almost void of flavor, but most agree it does have a slight, light, fishy bitterness. And best of all, the boiling and crushing process has turned shirashu meat blue, perfect for your Roadie Yum Yum box. Yes, sir, the Roadie Yum Yum box. Now that's good eating. The Roadie Yum Yum box is low in fat and high in protein. Pet Sweat of Japan, always something good in the kitchen.
Wow. And now back to some kind of fishy light talk.
Well, the sound of those ducks, iguanas, and monkeys bouncing around the coffee shop at Light Talk Central means that once again it's time for Let's Talk About. And today's Let's Talk About is all about Why do we continue allowing ourselves to be used? Wow. Why do people are using me?
What do you mean by being used?
Like in our process of becoming famous or just surviving, for God's sake, just getting a job. Now, let me tell you where this is coming from. And it's coming from this fantastic new series on Netflix called Baby Reindeer. And everyone's talking about this. It's some of the best acting and writing I've seen in a long time. Very disturbing. But basically, it's about a stalker, and it's about the guy who's being stalked is a comedian who's really terrible, trying to make it, and is trying to become, successful. And the things that he goes through to do that is just horrifying. But we all know people that actually have chosen this route. And sometimes it turns out really horrible. Like one person named Harvey Weinstein, right? Just the name of one. But in this case, it's someone else.
But isn't Baby Reindeer about a stalker?
Part of the story is about this guy's process of becoming successful and what he went through in order to do this. And this is one of the reasons why he was attracted to this crazy woman, because she was the only one who actually gave him attention.
Right, but that's why people would go to see Harvey Weinstein, because they want the actress role, they want the script role, they want the director role.
Absolutely.
And of course, there's different degrees. I just think it's good to be aware of how a television show, a play, a work of art, a business person, is using you. And I think when you have your eyes open, you're less likely to be taken advantage of. And I think maybe in these more nefarious ways, when you allow yourself to be too innocent or not, or maybe have a little bit of suspicion, you can easily get suckered, if you will.
We've all been to this rehearsal where we're reaching 11 o'clock when it's break time, and the director comes out and says, hey, the actors want to keep working. Does anyone have a problem with that? Could you guys stand around? That is being used because they're putting pressure on you as part of the company. That is being used. Another thing is like saying, hey, listen, we're not being able to pay you until we get more ticket receipts. Is that okay? Yeah, that's being used. All this stuff. I'm talking about the smaller things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, you use that that's such a passive-aggressive term. We want to do X. Does anybody have a problem with that? Which really means anybody want to challenge me on that?
That's right.
That language always sends up a red flag. Yeah.
Challenge your peers, your colleagues. The actors want to work longer.
Right.
It's funny. I just read one of those things on Facebook where those, one of those self-help kind of whatever. And it said, stick with those who want more for you, not of you.
Not from you or of
not
you.
Of you,
right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I
like
that.
That was really good. More for you, not of you.
Yeah. It's like the guy who comes down to your office, and they only come like once every 6 months, and they knock on the door. Oh, we got a minute, and you're thinking in your mind, what do they want? Do they ever come and just say, hey, how are you? Oh, I wanted to check in. No, it's just coming because they need something. That always sends up my red flag too.
Well, I used to work at a major performing arts center. And when I left, someone called me, and instead of saying, hey, where are you going? Or what's new? Or where, good luck with your new adventures. They're like, where am I going to get my free tickets? I'm like, yeah, right. Not my problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. It is an interesting question. I think it goes a lot deeper than we've gone here.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, Steve has the last question of the day.
Okay, it's Paula in Vermont, and she writes, I am confused about which lens to buy for our space, 36 or 50 degree. We have a 36 by 24 by 14 performance area. I want to buy 12 lights. Any thoughts? Okay, well, there's a couple things just to remind you. There are a lot of companies who make lights. I'm going to kind of narrow my comments to, I think, the two major companies, which is ETC and Verilight. Most people think of a normal lens as a 19, 26, 36 degree. So your 36 is in that normal lens range. You also say 50 degree. 50 degree is a pretty different lens. We're getting into a wide lens when we look at a 50 or 70 or an ultra wide at 90. So when I look at your space here, 36 by 24 by 14, the 36 and the 50 degree, I think I'm going to advise you, and you're the only person I've ever said this to, I'm going to advise you to take a look at the 25 to 50 degree zoom. Both companies make that, and you've got it. You've got it.
The only thing that's missing is how far away are these lights from the stage?
Well, there's something else missing. What is the height?
Well, I'm assuming 14 to the grid.
Okay, to the lighting positions, right?
Right.
But we don't know how far away the lights are because that'll impact what we pick.
Well, it can't be that far away if it's like 36 by 24. I mean, I just designed a space about this size, and I used a lot of 50 degree and 36 degree. That's what I used. But I think your idea of the zoom is really the way to go.
The other way to do it
I think that's a great idea.
Is you need to look at the volume of space taken up when you put a full-size lighting fixture in the air. If indeed your grid is 14 feet from the floor, that fixture is going to be above people's head, but it also may seem really obtrusive in the space. So then all of a sudden you're able to take a look at maybe that ETC Source 4 Junior, and that might give you what you want. The other way to do this, test the stuff, see what you like, buy 12 lenses in your principal design degree that you think you're going to most often use, then pick up a couple 50s or 70s or 19s or whatever on the used market. So that's kind of the way I would do that. But I think my gut is go with the zoom.
Or 12 Verilights.
Well, no, Verilight makes a fixed degree fixture.
I know.
So, but there's a lot of companies.
That's great.
Cool. Well, the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tell us that once again you spent another morning listening to the Light Talk. You can hear our show on just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website at lighttalk.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
if you do decide to litigate, the Snoot Group with the legal team of Sparks, Burnout, and Chase will defend us until our retirement funds are depleted.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers and sister, coming to you from Gainesville, Long Beach, Las Vegas, the tropical island of St. Bart's, and the Republic of Texas.
And be sure to join us next week when we talk about more lighting shenanigans and serve you more of our casserole of nonsense.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
So we'll see you all next Saturday morning from the brothers and sisters of Lumens. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.